Hey, welcome into another episode of Out of Bounds with your host, Toddfox, and AKA Rick Davis.
Bitch.
As he checks in, this is the NFL week season finale. We're going to give you our overall records going into this final, now into the wild card playoff round. We're going to get into all the games. We're going to give you what happened and the stats and whatnot and our takes on each and every game. And then we're going to give a little synopsis on the playoff preview because that's going to come tomorrow with the actual show. So, with that being said, you want to let them know our records?
Yeah, to finish off the regular season, Ty, you got me by 2 games. You got 166 wins, 104 losses, 2 ties. I registered at 164 wins, and 106 losses with 2 ties. We both got 2 ties.
It wasn't bad. I mean, we came in with a 68% clip and a 67% clip to finish the year after having such a bad start. So I'm pretty happy that we got things going.
Not only that, but there was a point in time where I was like 20 or 30 games under 500 at like the week 5, week 6 point of the season. I was just sitting there like, oh my God, I'm sitting there looking horrible. And then somehow, some way, I started knocking them out. I had like 2 or 3 straight weeks of just like 2 or 3 losses, and then it was just like neck and neck, and that's where we ended up right there. I'm happy with the overall standings.
Yeah, me too. I think it worked out. It was very dramatic at the end because the last couple of weeks I had been slacking. You were kicking my ass. And then you came back, it almost took the record, so that was pretty cool, man. So good job right there. By the way, I forgot to let everybody know we have we have Walter on the ones and twos tonight, so he'll be running the mics, I guess. So
yo, welcome back to the Fortnite.
Fortnite, I don't think so. So let's get started with some of the games, shall we, my man?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's do it. So the first game was Kansas City 14-3, 7-2. That's how they finished their season. Versus the Raiders. The Raiders finished 6-11. Now, after playing really tough against the 49ers last week, they laid an egg on Saturday and lost at home 31-13. Patrick Mahomes not really did too much. It was mainly the defense and the Raiders not getting anything done. A lot of question marks going into next offseason with a coaching staff, what they're going to do as far as Devontae Adams, even though he says he's going to stay, what they're going to do as far as quarterback. One thing I will say on this that we touched on last week, it's really bullshit that the Kansas City Chiefs will get home field advantage throughout the playoffs as long as the Bills lose. However, if the Bills win and face them in the AFC Championship game, the Bills have to play at a neutral site. That is unfair. Give me your take on that after you talk about the Raiders and Chiefs.
It's pretty bad when the Kansas City Chiefs can roll out a practice play in the middle of a game. That's how bad the game is. And I just now noticed if you look at the score, it's 31-13, complete opposites. Like the Raiders scored the same numbers, but they were backwards, 13, and the Chiefs had 31. Not really much to say. The only question I got for anybody out there that likes the Raiders is, are you guys content, or do you guys want the head coach out of there, Josh McDaniels? Or Daniel, whatever his name is, McDaniels. The Chiefs, yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think that's a lot of BS right there. I think that should come down to like the fan voting right there. The NFL cares so much about the Pro Bowl votes and all that, and voting for who should make the Hall of Fame. Why not just give the fans a voice on this one? Should like the Bills, they should get to host a home game because it's an unfortunate tragedy that happened, but the guy's okay. The guy, he went back to Buffalo. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if he's ever going to play again. I wouldn't even risk it, but from what I hear is that Damar Hamlin he got paid his one-time rookie contract, and the Bills are looking to extend him with a bigger contract. So congratulations to Damar Hamlin. But one thing I'm not a big fan of what Damar did since he's recovered. Is that when the Buffalo Bills did the kick return, the opening kick return, he tweeted out OMFG for a guy that just damn near almost died, for him to put God's name in vain. I don't know. He may not believe in him. I don't know what he saw in the afterlife for those couple minutes, but for him to write something like that, I kind of took a little bit of offense. But hey, man, to each their own. I guess I'm just happy that he's with us still, but. That's the only thing I've got is I think I'm with you. I think it's BS that the home field advantage will go away from Buffalo because they had no control over that. And Josh McDaniels. Like, is he going to stay with the Raiders or is he dipping?
Yeah, the Raiders are a mess. That's why the Buffalo Bills are the way they are. That's why the Houston Texans. We'll get into that, all those moves as we move forward. But I agree with everything you said right there. As far as the Chiefs are concerned, or as far as DeMar Hamlin, yeah, he should have been a little more ease with his words. But of course, he won't get called out for it. Everyone's just happy that he's alive or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I do agree though that he should never play again. You risk your heart like that, you got to find something else, man. It's hard to give up on a dream, but you're going to need to at that point. So
he could still be a part of the NFL. He can be a part of like the wide receiver, the DB's coach or something like that. Just nothing physical. They're gonna have to have like I don't know if you've heard of it or like anybody's ever mentioned it or whatnot, but they've got these little chips that they insert into the heart, and then they keep track of like hearts. Like they like have these machines where like the doctors can see like from afar. They get alerts if something's off, but they need to have that doing like a heart monitor because cardiac arrest, I can't imagine what that's like. You've seen them, everybody by now has seen him play. You've seen he got up, the last motion that he did was he was trying to fix his helmet up. He tried taking that step forward and his body gave out. That was instantly, bro. Like that was instantly. I would not I wouldn't chance it. If he's got a loving family, they should tell him not like, no, you already got your contract paid out. Like take care of yourself. Let's invest that money into something good and let's leave it in God's hands.
and I'm sure the team will take care of him. They'll give him a spot. They'll teach him how to coach. So
Yeah.
I would definitely never risk it again. Moving on, the Tennessee Titans and the Jacksonville Jaguars played not only a playoff game, but essentially a playoff game to get in. Winner gets in. But they also were playing for bragging rights for the division. If it was simple, Tennessee wins, they're in. Jacksonville wins, they're in. And if Tennessee would have won, they would have been 8-9, getting in with a losing record and winning the division. However, it didn't happen that way. Jacksonville improves to 9-8, 5-3, and what a turnaround for the freaking Jaguars after Urban Meyer debacle of last year. Joshua Dobbs proves again why he's not a real quarterback. 20 of 29 were 179 yards, a touchdown, and a crucial fumble as the Jaguars would turn that into the game-winning touchdown.
No, it was an interception, wasn't it? Wasn't it an interception? He threw the ball. It was a fumble.
It was a fumble. Yeah, he released the ball before his hand went forward.
Gotcha.
It was very close though. Derrick Henry did keep his end of the bargain, but how long will he be there? 30 carries, 109 yards. Now what happens with Tennessee? Who knows? Trevor Lawrence in his sophomore year gets to the playoffs for the first time, 20 of 32 and 212. The running game was non-existent in this game. So basically, yeah, it was Trevor Lawrence and that defense. Thoughts on the Jaguars winning that division when, remember me and you in the beginning of the season were high on them when they were like 3 or 4-1. They went a long losing streak, and then they came back again to finish the year strong. What's the future for the Jaguars, and can they potentially make noise in the postseason?
Well, before I get to the Jacksonville Jaguars, I want to talk a little bit about Joshua Dobbs. Watching him play, man, you could tell he was really trying his hardest, but like you said, he proves that he's not a quarterback. I felt bad for the guy, man. He was out there trying, man. He was trying, and then like the mistakes just kept happening, and you can see it in his face after the game, like total disbelief. He probably hasn't slept since that game happened, and if he has, he's probably done it off of medicine like sleeping pills and all that, because that was a devastating loss, man. Like what happened to the Titans? Like they went on like a 5 or 6 game losing streak. And then the Jacksonville Jaguars, you got it right. I was big on them, and I was only big on them in the beginning of the season because of the running back that the Jets now have is James Robinson. I thought that Robinson was a really good running back, but hey, they proved me wrong. That's why fans are fans, coaches are coaches, players are players, and all that. Jacksonville, you know who they remind me of with a better quarterback? The Detroit Lions. They remind me of like the Detroit Lions, the AFC. It's a team that nobody wants to see at this point in time. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence looks pretty decent. He looks okay. I think it was more defense than anything because his numbers and Joshua Dobbs were almost the same. I mean, he got him by like, 20, 30 more yards. I mean, for a guy that's supposed to be the next big quarterback, he's supposed to have like big stats, big yardage and all that. Like you said, running game wasn't there. The passing, and Christian Kirk is the only thing that you can mention when it comes down to the passing game, but the Titans have been known for good defense. I mean, this game basically came down to just hard defense, and Joshua Dobbs was the factor why the Titans are going home. But the Titans, who do they have at quarterback outside of Dobbs? You know, they got Tannehill, who's way past his prime, if he ever hit a prime, and then they got Malik Willis.
Yeah, and who knows what he's going to be because they obviously knew that he wasn't prepared to be a quarterback this year. So yeah, Jacksonville making their run. We'll see what they do this upcoming Sunday. I believe is when they play. That'll move us on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who improved to, or actually fall back to 8-9 as they win a division. They lose to the Falcons, who go to 7-10, 6-3 at home. They just couldn't win on the road unless it was in Seattle. Atlanta wins 30-17. Any thoughts? Because it doesn't matter what happened in this game at all.
No, you got it right. But honestly, I want to see if I can push something for the Atlanta Falcons because their season is over. Like they're done until September. Draft is next relevant thing that the Falcons are going to be a part of, but so is everybody else. They found out a little bit about their quarterback Ritter. I mean, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers basically this was a practice squad in the second half. They didn't put up a lick of points against the Falcons, so we got to see plenty of Ritter. Those are the type of numbers we're going to see out of him in the preseason because he's playing against a whole bunch of nobodies that won't make the roster next year. The running game was looking ferocious for Atlanta. I mean, it was just one of those where Tampa Bay just didn't care. They could get what's the word I'm looking for? Not disqualified, but if they could have quit the game ahead of time, they would have easily done it. They didn't care about that game. Drake London looked pretty good. Now the question about them is, what are they going to do now that they got Drake London, who looks somewhat decent? And then they got the running game, Drake London, running game, Algier, I want to say his name is. Then you got Cordell Patterson as the backup. Now what are they going to do with what's the one guy, the wide receiver that got suspended for betting? What's his name? I'm drawing up a blank right now with the wide receiver. Not Harry Douglas. It's another one. It's a wide receiver. But anyways, he was supposed to be their number one wide receiver. So now again another wide receiver for Desmond Ritter. We're gonna see what they're gonna do with the quarterback situation. If I'm Atlanta, I draft another quarterback in the mid rounds to put a little pressure on Ritter. Don't let him get comfortable and just hand him the job. That's how you spoil a quarterback and you run into having a no good quarterback entitled.
Exactly. And it's just going to be the future game for that entire division because what's going to happen with Tampa Bay after the season too, we don't know. So, we'll see where in there because that's an old-ass team. That'll move us on to the Buffalo Bills, who improved to 13-3, 7-1 at home. They beat the New England Patriots, essentially knocking them out of the playoffs. Mac Jones tried, but to no avail. The jury's still out on him on his sophomore year. He threw 3 touchdowns, 3 picks. Matt Patricia is being blamed in New England, as he should, because he's a sucky-ass offensive coordinator. The Patriots lose this game, it seemed like, from the opening kickoff. They had all the luck right away from Hines. 2 kick returns for touchdowns. It's hard to see one in 1 week or even in 4 weeks, and you had 2 in the same game, so that was pretty legit. First time since Leon Washington did it with my Seahawks in 2010, 2 in 1 game. Buffalo rolls 35-23.
I mean, for me, that's the difference was those 2 kick returns. Because without those 2 kick returns, maybe Buffalo wins by a last-second field goal. But you take away those 2 kick returns, and the Patriots outscored the Bills outright. Mac Jones, the jury may still be out, but if you look at it like the system he's in, bro, it's really boring. He's got nothing out there to throw to. I think the Patriots should trade him. I think the Patriots should trade him out to Las Vegas because. If Josh McDaniels is still out there, the Raiders will take him because McDaniels as he's familiar with Mac Jones. Who knows where Mac Jones is going to be? Who knows if the Patriots even trade him? It's just a thought because McDaniels is out there in familiarity and all that. But I don't see the Patriots doing much of anything in the offseason. Maybe they'll sign some mid-tier players like they always do, but unless they sign a offensive coordinator that's like a genius, like somebody that's like a lot younger than Belichick, I don't see them doing much of anything because they're going to be like, oh, we were only 1 game away from making the playoffs, and they're just going to go with that same boring style into the offseason. And they're going to end up with 8 wins next year again. And but Robert Kraft won't fire Bill Belichick because Bill Belichick was a part of all those dynasty Super Bowl wins.
Exactly. And, he's bought himself a couple more years there, but at some point they're going to have a divorce between him and Kraft, the owner. But for right now, the Patriots are going to be, that mid-level team picking mid-level in the draft, and we'll see what they can do.
Boring.
Yeah, exactly. No stars on offense.
or defense. Just a whole bunch of players that know how to play football. Like there's nothing entertaining about that team. Just a good solid football team. Even when they have a blowout win, it's still a boring ass game because the Patriots are just that type of team.
Exactly. Now I'll take us to your team, which is the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings go to 13-4, 5-3 on the road as they played the Bears, and the Bears fall to 3-14. And at the beginning of the game, they were like, "Well, there's a chance that we can get the first round pick if we lose this game." And the Bears players were like, "So you're telling me there's a chance?" And they got it later on, thanks to Houston, which we'll talk about here coming up soon. But not too much to talk about other than Tim Boyle came in through 8 passes, 2 picks for the Bears.
Dude, I second that one. Like this one, literally, I'm like you. I watch almost every single Minnesota Vikings game, even in the bad seasons when we're like 3-13. Well, now it'll be like 3-14. I'll sit there and watch every single second of that blowout because I love my team so. I couldn't do it. I could not watch this game. Like in midway through the third quarter, I was just daydreaming. I was bored as hell. I was checking out the red zone. I even went and picked up lunch for the family. Like I got away from the game completely. It was boring. It was like extremely boring. There was nothing that the Bears were doing. I was like, I'm not used to because even when the Bears are out of it, they normally give us a tight game. Like I can't remember the last time that we had a double-digit win over the Bears. Like I can't remember that. It was just one of those. The Bears were trying to lose that game. It's just clear as day. Kirk Cousins, obviously, the Bears not trying. Everybody on Minnesota is gonna look really good. So, what can you really take out of this game other than they just got the win and that's it.
Yeah,
Pat on the back, that's all they're gonna get.
It was a tune-up, man. It essentially felt like a freaking preseason game in my mind.
Yeah, it was boring as hell, I'm telling you. And that's coming from somebody that watches every second of every Minnesota Vikings game, win or loss.
I feel you. Sometimes, I mean, you may have one of those a year, especially if you're non-contending. But as a contender, you were resting most of the guys in the second half.
Yeah, I think from you, this is going years and years back when you had Seneca Wallace. I think the one game that sticks out the most, that's most boring is for you, is when you guys took a loss. It was like 6-9 or 3-6 in Cleveland. It was many, many years ago. I remember you texted me. You were like, "Dude, this game is horrible. Boring, cold weather. There's no point."
No, I wish they had started Seneca Wallace. That game they started touchdown Jesus, and that guy couldn't get the job done. We were punting left and right. That was at the very, very beginning of the LOB. Yeah, they lost 6-3. That was the worst game I've ever seen in my life. I've never been more bored in my life, dude. I wish I had fell asleep.
Yeah, that's one of those type of games where you just get up and you walk around for a little bit. You put your backpack on and you walk around and block.
Yeah, I took the backpack out after when we lost. That's for sure.
That's what she says.
All right, so that'll take us to another exhibition game, which pretty much it was. Cincinnati tuning up for what they're going to play this week. Cincinnati wasn't going to show too much of their offense. 12-4 as they improve. The Ravens went to 10-7. They fall. They started Anthony Brown, so they didn't even try. 19-44. This dude looked terrible in the highlights I saw. 2 interceptions. The running game was non-existent. Cincinnati did a lot of blah 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 on offense. This is really just setting up for this Saturday's game or Sunday's game between Cincinnati and Baltimore.
Tell you what, man. I know you said this about Mac Jones. I'm going to use the same phrase that you use. The jury's out on Tyler Huntley. That guy's not that good, man. I think he's good. Like, if he stays away from the football field, like as a backup, no injuries happen. And he comes in like 2-3 years down the road and everybody's forgotten about him and then nobody knows how to defend him. He'll look good then. But yeah, man, that's just a meaningless game. Meaningless game. Neither team wanted to show. I mean, I think the NFL, what they need to do in week 18, like they need to really strongly consider, like they should only play the games that have meaning. Like the games that don't have any meaning to it, like this one right here, like there's no point, the teams can't move up or down in the standings. Like the NFL should just be like, we're going to give you guys the option to play the game or, cancel the game. Like if you guys want to play it, like you guys can't move up in the standings, you're down. Like I know the fans want to see the game, but honestly, it's going to be so boring where they're going to wish they were doing something else.
They'd have to refund the fans. They ain't going to do it, dude. There's too much money playing these games, whether they count or not, because if that was the case, they wouldn't play the Texans-Colts game, which we're going to talk about here.
Man, there was a lot of who gives a off games of the week this week, huh?
Oh, there's a lot. And this one right here, the Texans improve to 3-13-1 and give the Bears the first-round pick. A lot of people are saying Lovie Smith did that on purpose because he was told before the game that he was going to be fired. He was fired shortly after. And then you have your woke people saying, "Oh my God, he was fired because he's black." The last three coaches the Texans have had is black. Then they complain that they fired him over 1 year of they didn't give him a chance. They gave him a shit roster. Denver coach was fired after a year. Matt Rule barely made it into his second year and fired, whether he had a shit roster or not. Let's stop with that. That's my only thing I'm gonna say. Let's just stop with that whole thing. 70% of the league is black. Can we just talk football? And unfortunately, that was the headline. And it wasn't Jeff Saturday and your ESPN team blowing a lead in the final seconds.
Hey, well, Jeff Saturday, he stuff for ESPN. Look, 4 wins, 4 letters for ESPN. Good, man. Hey, like I said, I don't have anything personal against the man, Jeff Saturday, but I have everything against the company that he represents. And watching him lose, I feel bad for him because he's got a family. Trust me, I feel for him in them regards. But as far as because put it this way, had the Colts won the division, let's just put this out there. I'm gonna put it out there. Had the Colts won the division and they looked unstoppable, and Jeff Saturday comes in and does an outstanding job, dude. The people at ESPN were gonna pop confetti. They were gonna sit there and throw a parade like that's our boy. That notice how ESPN. I don't know how much ESPN you actually watch or listen to. Nobody's talking about the Colts over there at ESPN over there in Connecticut. Nobody's talking about the Colts, but that's their boy right there. He was working with. He's an expert. Remember, he's somebody that they hired because he was so smart. He played the game he played the NFL game and all that. He was a well-known player and all that. Now he's a well-known loser when it comes down to coaching. And I really, I'm praying and I'm praying to all the football guys out there. Please bring Mina Kimes and Dan Orlowski and all those retards over to the football side so that way they can be coaches because they seem to know everything about everything when it comes down to sports, especially football.
I say you take Stephen A. Smith. What is it, Ike Taylor, whoever those other guys that are on the
Ryan Clark.
Well, Ryan Clark. I don't know why I said Ike Taylor. Ryan Clark, Sean Salisbury. Let's bring him back. Let's bring back even throw Chris Berman, put Booger McFarland. Let them fire everybody on the Colts and just have them as all position coaches and keep Saturday as head coach. And let's see them put their money where their mouth is. Bring Max Kellerman in there. Bring Skip Bayless in there. Bring Shay in there. Let's let these assholes that think they know everything run a football team, and let's see how many wins they get.
Yeah, I got them winning about 1, maybe 2 games. That's going to be week 1 and week 18. That's where they'll get their wins.
Probably.
And one more thing about ESPN while I'm on it, I was listening to I forget what show it was. Somebody had pulled up. Oh yeah, it was. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. I know exactly what show it was. It was on the what's his name, Mike Greeny show. It was on the Mike Greeny show. I tuned away from the music stations and all that, and I punched it on ESPN for a split second while they were on commercials. And then this douchebag, I don't know what his name is. Nuno, I want to say his name is. He pulled up a stat sheet. He said in the United States for the year 2022. Out of the top 100 shows that were watched on national television were out of the top. Hold on, how did he say it? 33 shows. He basically put it like this: out of 33, the top 33 shows in the United States, 31 of them were NFL games, and 2 of them were presidential shows. Yeah. And then quickly, you know what they turned it into?
What?
This dude, Mike Greenberg, he said, and that just goes to show you that all sports is taking over. They completely got away from the NFL. All NFL games, right? The whole entire point. And then the guy, Nuno or whatever his name was, he went right back to the NFL. He's like, the NFL isn't. But Mike Greeny, because he's a kiss ass yes man at ESPN. He has to involve basketball. He was involved in basketball. He says baseball and basketball. I'm like, dude, I wish I could call in and they would take my call because I'd be like, dude, not one of those was an NBA game or anything like that.
The NBA hasn't cracked the top 200 all year.
Yeah, they're just trying to force feed you NBA when nobody watches the NBA, bro. It's hard to watch that garbage ass sport. It used to be my second favorite sport. Now I only have one favorite sport, and that's the NFL.
Yep, they don't play defense anymore, and they're we can go on and on about them.
Yeah.
So let's move on. But I get your point. And by the way, ESPN has the worst named shows out there. I mean, First Take's not too imaginative. Before that, it was Cold Pizza, and then you have Get Up with Greenberg. I mean, that's so stupid.
Yeah.
Get up.
What
Okay.
about that dude, Momani Jones? What's that one that he had with the one guy? When it was just them two, like in the middle of the day, like at noon or something like that. I can't remember what the show was called, but I was like, man, who would watch this shit? They were just sitting there, just so calm, unimaginative. They were just casually having a conversation about sports. I was like, man, these dudes suck. They're a bunch of weenies,
Should have
man.
been called Pillow Talk.
That's
Um,
what it felt like. Remind me of sleep.
yeah. Miami Dolphins improved to 9-8 and punched their ticket into the postseason because the Patriots lost and they eliminated the Steelers, while the New York Jets sputtered into another loss as they finished the season, losing 11-6. And by far, this was a game I was keeping my eye on, but god damn, it was hard to watch because yeah, you had Joe Flacco in there, which he shouldn't have started. I would have gone for Wilson. I know Randy hates that, but dude, I think Wilson could have did better than Flacco. He threw 18 of 33, 149 yards, only 4.5 yards a pass. The offense, the running game was terrible. Still, the running back that got hurt, who I'm blanking on his name earlier in the year, but he literally played 6 games for the Jets, and he's still your leading rusher at the end of the season. Skylar Thompson played because Teddy Two Gloves couldn't play, and Tua had a concussion got a concussion from his concussion, so he wasn't there again. So now their quarterback status is up in the air for this Sunday as well. But this was one hell of a boring ass game. It took a last second field goal and then a safety to win it for the Dolphins, 11-6. Thoughts on this piece of shit game?
Well, I like you. I was drawing a blank, so it was killing me not to find out who it was. The running back you're talking about, the rookie Brees Hall.
There you go, Brees Hall. Yeah.
But man, I'm honestly nothing on this game. I know this is one that me and you were looking at. I saw what the score was. It was like 6-3. I was like, wow, that game looks boring as hell. I'm already watching a boring game over here as it is. I'm not gonna turn it over from one boring. And like when the Vikings game was over, that's when I turned over. I watched the last itty bitty pieces of that game, the Jets versus the Dolphins. But even then I was kind of like half-ass paying attention to it because there was this like you kind of felt that the Dolphins they should have run away with that one, but it was just so boring. I picked the Jets only because I trusted their defense, and their defense kept the Dolphins down to minimal points. They what was it, 11 points you said?
Yeah, 11 points. Well,
I
9
mean,
points, and then the safety on the last play of the game.
yeah, normally 9 points. If your defense only gives up 9 points, your offense better go out there and at least put up 10 points, right? Like it doesn't make sense how the Jets operate. Like even Joe Flacco should go out there and be able to drive. Man, it's a hundred yards, man, 100 yards, and you can't go down the field and score just one touchdown. That's ridiculous. Man, I don't know how anybody could sit there and talk about, man, I went to that game. Like I'm pretty sure people that were at that game were talking about everything but the game.
Well, Robert Saleh officially is a bit on the hot seat. He's going to keep his job, but I think if the offense does not change for next season, you're going to see a problem there. Problem is that wasn't his quarterback. You know, I don't think Saleh was on board with that. That was a Jets decision. They nailed 7 of their 8 draft picks, and the one draft pick they didn't nail was their quarterback, and that's the problem right now. So they're gonna have to
But
go.
honestly, what can you do with Zach Wilson though? Like, let's talk about because the Jet season is over, and I want to at least talk a little bit about the teams that their season is over because we won't be talking about them from here on out until who knows when. What do you think the Jets are gonna do with Zach Wilson? Like, you've been watching the NFL. I don't want to say a lot longer, but you've been watching it longer than I have. What do you think the Jets should do?
They got 2 choices. They either release him, which is the worst case scenario because you don't get nothing back for him, or you sucker a team into thinking that he's turned the corner, he's matured on the offseason, he's ready to take control or work his way up from a backup to a starter, and you try to work a deal, and you're going to have to eat some of that rookie contract to do it on top of it. I don't think he has a chance. I don't think there's a third option for him to regain his starting spot. He'd been there, done that. He lost it right away. So that should tell you that after getting a second chance of only one start, the coaches saw again that he's not ready, he didn't mature, and whether it takes him 6 years, 7 years, or he's not going to be able to do it next year, or if he's done already, there's no way he's wearing a Jets uniform again. I just have a feeling he's going to be moved in some capacity, whether it's onto the street by a release, which is going to be a heavy cap hit, unfortunate for the Jets, or if they can find someone to actually sucker him in and take him.
You know, it's hard to disagree with that one. I honestly think somebody's gonna see something in them to go ahead and send the Jet. What would the asking price be for a guy like him though? You know, you can't ask for a first round pick because the Jets don't even start him. I think for a first round pick, the guy's got to at least be a full time starter.
I don't
I
think it
would
would be.
say,
I don't think it
uh
would be a punter. I would think it would be something like an older defensive end that you could possibly get off of someone's hands that maybe they're paying him a little bit too much in his final years of his career. It'd be something
so
like that,
basically,
dude.
so basically, so basically, it's like they're gonna be going around during the summertime, during the off season. They're gonna go to all these yard sales. Like, we'll give you this nice little shiny toy for that old one over there.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, okay, we're gonna swap and trade here. We'll take your Albert Hainsworth type of player who's over the hill and you're paying him about 10 million. We'll take him if you take Zach Wilson. You know,
Yeah, they should figure it out, man. They should be like right now. They need to start talking to any agent or whatever that's willing to listen to see what they can get in return for Zach Wilson, because the New York fans don't want him there, and I feel like he still has a chance, man. I still stand by what I said about Zach Wilson. I still think that he's a pretty decent quarterback. I just think that he's got to find the right system. Give him to put him out in a system like San Francisco. We see what any quarterback can go out there. Just give one a look at Baker Mayfield. He looked pretty decent in a system that actually fits him. So I would send him to a team that has like a pass first offense, because the Jets were ever since Brees Hall went down, the Jets season went down. I'm just putting it out there like that. If Brees Hall was in there for the entire season, maybe Zach Wilson's taking the Jets to the playoffs.
send him to Carolina or New Orleans, man.
I think Carolina's done taking first round extra first round picks.
Hey, think about it. If Tom Brady leaves that this year, that entire division is going to need a quarterback. They're going to need one in some capacity, whether it's a really good backup behind Ritter, or you're going to need a starter in Carolina, a starter in New Orleans, and a starter in Tampa.
So you don't believe in Kyle Trask over there in Bay?
I don't know, man. I sure as don't believe in who's the guy down in the guy that took over for Kaepernick, who's still in the league. He's down in Tampa. He's the backup over there. That garbage.
Kyle Trask. I know we got Nick Mullins.
He was a former Niner quarterback.
Beathard? Is that what his name is?
No, not Beathard. It was God. I can't even think of his name. Oh well. Let's move on to another shitty game that really I don't have too much to say on it. Two teams that will finish the year 7-10. Sam Darnold's awesome 5 of 15 and 2 interceptions got the job done on 3 yards per pass, 43 yards total thrown. That's the winning quarterback stats right there. Sam Darnold beats the Saints 10-7.
Man, 5 for 15. He only completed. Is that the worst winning percentage, like winning stat line for a quarterback this entire? I think that might be the worst stat line for a winning quarterback.
Check out his QBR was 11%, and his overall quarterback rating was 2.8.
Brutal. Chuba Hubbard is better. We talk about the running game, both running. They got over 100 yards. They got like 150 yards on the ground. Sam Darnold went 6 rushing attempts. There it is right there. That's where he made his money right there. He had 6 rushes for 32 yards, no touchdowns. Had he put up a touchdown on the ground, look out fantasy football. Receiving, not really much to talk about. Their leading receiver was Marshall with 2 catches, 23 yards. DJ Moore, I would expect a lot more out of DJ Moore. 1 catch for 10 yards, so he got a first down. That was it. He went and took a shower. The New Orleans Saints, let me see what they've got. They've got Andy Dalton, your favorite quarterback. He did 15 as well, 15 completions, but 25 attempts. 171 yards, so they were actually slinging it a little bit more than the Panthers, but they still lost. Taysom Hill, again, proving why he's overrated. I never believed in that dude Taysom Hill ever since, even when the Saints were when they had Drew Brees and Sean Payton, I never believed in that dude Taysom Hill. I always thought he was overrated. He was just a misfit player that just, you just throw him anywhere and he makes a play here and there. Everybody sits there and beats off to him. So, I mean, the guy's overrated. He's showing that he's overrated. Even when the team is bad, he can't take over as a quarterback position. Like, honestly, let's not be blind to that. Everybody's forgotten about that dude Taysom Hill, but I haven't. That dude is trash as hell. Alvin Kamara, who knows if he's going to want to stick around in New Orleans. Chris Olave, I could go on and on, but there's not much else to talk about other than the little few stats that we got. 10-7 is the final score. What's Carolina going to do with their head coaching position? Are they going to keep not Matt Rule, but Wilkes, I want to say his name is?
Yeah, he's actually interviewing for the job today.
They should keep him. They should
Yeah,
keep him.
I agree.
The woke media will praise the Panthers and they'll talk about them. They'll give them some publicity.
Yeah,
The
because
Saints,
the
huh?
Dolphins were talking about if they didn't make the playoffs, they were going to fire that coach. But I said they can only fire half of him because he's half black.
Hey, I agree with you on that one. You know, the media is going to run with that one.
But the stat of the day in this game, the only stat I'm gonna say right now, is that the New Orleans Saints have a capacity of 73,000 for their stadium. You had 70,000, 96% full that sat and watched this 3 hour snooze fest. So congratulations to you people.
Man, were they like, I don't know if you got it in front of you or what, but were all those people like, did all those people buy those tickets or were there a lot of like handouts?
I don't know, it doesn't say, but it said they had 96% in attendance, so that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm thinking that those are like a lot of those were like handouts or like prices because I'm pretty sure ticket prices were dirt cheap for that game. Two non-playoff teams with boring aspirations, like yeah,
Yeah, remember they were $11 per ticket, so that's probably
yeah,
why.
yeah. Plus on a Sunday, what else do you got to do? You might as well go and represent your team, so,
Yep.
send them off in a good way, but they lost at home, so hey,
Well, that's what you get when you start a redhead quarterback. Pittsburgh Steelers, are they for real for next season? Because it looked like this was a year they were finally going to be on the losing side of things, but they finished the year strong and almost would have made the playoffs had the Jets got the win. But they finished 9-8, and Kevin Stefanski's Browns, who have all the talent in the world and have failed all season. Deshaun Watson, the butt tickler himself, he goes 19-29 with 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. He was sacked 7 times, and Cleveland loses this game. Kenny Pickett had another nice game. He looks to be the guy for the future. What do you think about Kenny Pickett moving forward, and are the Steelers going to be tough next year?
it is going to be tough for the Steelers. I see the Steelers maxing out. It's tough to tell how these two teams will finish up next year and what because of injuries and then draft picks, free agent. You got to go through all that. But yeah, I think Pittsburgh they're on the right track. Mike Tomlin, great coach. You gotta call him what he is. You gotta call a spade a spade. He's proven even with the rookie quarterback that took forever to finally arrive. He was patient with them. I mean, he did put Trubisky in for like a game or two, didn't he? Like, didn't he take
Mm-hmm.
Pickett away and then he basically went back and forth. That's a good thing for rookies that do that are struggling. You take them out and you talk to them like, hey, we're gonna go with this, but we're gonna put you back out there. We're gonna calm you down a little bit and let you watch a little bit more. Don't give up hope, and that's exactly what he did. He didn't give up hope, and he went right back out there when his number was called, and hey, he delivered 9-8. That's good. That's pretty good. If they were in the NFC, they might have made the playoffs, but they're in the AFC and they're in a really tough division. It's going to be tough for either one of these two teams to win that division, especially with Joe Thorough being out there. And then who knows what's going to happen with Baltimore. Baltimore can't get it right. I don't. I think Baltimore might fall to the fourth best team in the division because their offense just sucks, man. But yeah, the Cleveland Browns, like you could kind of see this from a mile away. I know I could. Cleveland Browns, the way they carry themselves, their approach to every game, run the ball a million times, and hopefully your defense can provide a spark. And that clearly wasn't the case this season, and that's why you're sitting at 7-10. I think Kevin Stefanski, a lot of Browns fans on social media are calling for Kevin Stefanski to get fired. They're upset with Deshaun Watson being their quarterback. But hey, man, we'll see how long that lasts.
This was weird season in all. We've said that many times. And as far as coaches being fired, there was only 2 fired. You know, when usually on Black Monday you lose about 7 or 8 coaches. There was only 2 that were let go, but there's gonna be opening spots. Coming through. Like Kevin Stefanski had to fire his OC to save his job, so he bought himself 1 more year, or at least into the start of next year. So, and then the next game we're going to get into, the Chargers 10-7, they fall right there, go to 5-4 on the road. But this was essentially a preseason game. They did not have to play their starters, but they did for about 3 quarters. And then Broncos country, let's ride. They go to 5-12. Now, if you would have told me the teams that were involved in the Russell Wilson trade, one would be 9-8, the other one would be 5-12. I'd say, okay, easy. Seahawks are 5-12, and the Broncos are 9-8, maybe a playoff team. I did not expect this. This is best case scenario for the Seahawks. We've talked about it all year, but I will say one thing. The last 2 games the Broncos have played, they actually showed up and did really decent on offense. Their defense lacked it, but their offenses look good. Russell Wilson threw 3 touchdowns in this game, and the Broncos offense rushed for 103 yards. So the first time, they've done positives on offense. Little too little late, but do you see the Broncos getting it together with a new coach, possibly a Sean Payton there in Denver?
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know. Russell Wilson looked good the last 2 weeks of the season, but that's when basically the season is over. I'm not taking too much out of this one right here, other than the chart. But then again, you got to think about the Chargers. Like, what a bunch of that dude. Brandon Staley is not a smart coach, man. Like they had nothing to play for. They were already in the playoffs, and then the offense goes. You could tell that they were out there trying. The Chargers. And the Broncos were giving it to them, and the Broncos were dead in the water. I would have just pulled my starters after the first quarter. I would have been like, we're not about to sit here and go into the playoffs with a losing mentality. Like, man, they were out there really, really trying, and you can tell that they were because Mike Williams got hurt. So now the questions are going to be the health of the San Diego Chargers, the LA Chargers going into Jacksonville, like the health report. That's what everybody's going to be looking at, and that's going to be one of the best games, I think, because those two teams are evenly matched. But yeah, man, it's just a bad look for the Chargers to go out that way in the season. I couldn't believe it. They were out there going back and forth like this was a week 8 matchup, like the division was on the line. I was like, what the hell are the Chargers doing?
Yeah, I mean that was it was the exact opposite that we see in the next game, which is the Giants and Eagles, because the Giants took the approach of, hey man, we got nothing to play for. We're not going to move up in the standings. We're not going to move up, and like you said, I don't get Staley either. He's been questioned a lot about learning on the fly, making stupid rookie coaching decisions. And that's a talented roster there in Los Angeles. So I don't get it either. I felt they should have rested everybody. You don't want to have Herbert out there getting hurt in the final week of the season.
Dude, look at those stats for Herbert. They were out there trying. They put a whole game plan up for that game. It was pointless. It was absolute pointless, man.
Yeah, they should have lost that game 31-0, in my opinion. They should have just started Daniels and just ran the ball and said, screw it. Because you look what the Giants did in our next game. The Giants fall to 9-7. They did not need this win. They did not need to, the Eagles actually had to play their starters, which I think is not beneficial to them, or it could be because they keep their guys fresh. But Eagles had to keep that first round bye, as we saw the Niners won later in the afternoon. So the Eagles had to play their hearts out in this game. But the Giants played Davis Webb, and Davis Webb didn't do that bad. And the Giants came back from a 22-3 game and made it a game, and almost had they got the onside kick at the end, would have really made things interesting. But Jalen Hurts really didn't have a great game. The running game wasn't all there. The Eagles looked off against the Giants.
Yeah, looking at the numbers, Davis Webb, like you said, I was just looking at his passing, his quarterback numbers, and I was like, man, he had an okay game. But then I'm scrolling down, and I see that he had some rushing yards, too. He had 6 carries, 41 yards, and a touchdown. So he had over 220 yards altogether, all-purpose yards. So the guy looked pretty good. He looked pretty good in a somewhat meaningless game. He's pretty fast. I'm not gonna lie. I watched this game when it was getting close. I watched it. This is the local game that they had on over here. So I watched the beginning of it, and then towards like the second, third, and late in the fourth quarter, I started doing other stuff. But like towards the end of the game, I saw that the Giants had made it to the game, and I was like, oh man, it was all over red zone and all. And yeah, Davis Webb looked pretty good. The Eagles, that's a bad look for them. They needed this game really bad, and they were trying their butts off. And against a team that was playing a whole bunch of nobodies out there, they still barely won that game. The Eagles have been barely winning these games, but nobody wants to point out how they're barely winning these games against these bad teams, even though the Giants made it to the playoffs. But you let the Minnesota Vikings win a game just like this against those same New York Giants. They barely beat the Giants, but hey, I guess it is what it is. We know what the narrative is against the Vikings.
Exactly. So, I mean, the Eagles, they're going to be tested. Although they have the first round bye, they're going to be tested, man. I don't think anyone's going to be too scared of them because this is a young team and an inexperienced coach in there too, man. But you never know. They could either come out guns a-blazing and take you all the way to the Super Bowl, or they can go in there and just get bounced right away. We don't know. And speaking of getting bounced, I'm surprised you don't have your sunglasses on with RIP.
Oh, man.
Cliff Kingsbury was let go by the Arizona Cardinals after this game, along with a GM who stepped down, supposedly. Cardinals have been trashed for a long time. We talked about the Lions having a trash organization, Houston Texans, although the Lions have turned the page recently. But you've had years and decades of failure, and look at who the Cardinals put out there in the finale for the most overrated defensive end of all time. J.J. Watt came out there and tried to fire up the Cardinals. They played for about almost 2 quarters before the Niners said, hey, we're playing the Cardinals, and they whipped up 28 straight points to put the game away. And they beat the Cardinals 38-13. The Cardinals finished 4-13. Now listen to some of these names on offense, Carlos. David Blah was your starting quarterback, 14 of 18, 180 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. Then you had Trace McSorley, 6 of 9, 29 yards, and a pick. And then if that doesn't blow you away, what about the rushing? Corey Clement. You had Greg Dortch, Trace McSorley, Farrell Cooper, Kenneth Ingram, and David Blah were your runners right there. And then your receivers were A.J. Green, Trey McBride, Craig Dortch, and Corey McKent with Marquise Brown. Wow, dude, that scares me. Does that scare? Because to me, that's better than the Niners lineup, don't you think?
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. But Cliff Kingsbury, this is the way I always seen him on the sidelines. He always had his sunglasses. Didn't matter if it was daylight or nighttime. I mean, the guy was just dying for attention, right? The guy always had his nice little play calling. He had the same old play. He had 2 guys run down the middle, one guy going deep type of. They just throw it as deep as you can. I don't know, man. I've called it for a while. I've called it for a long time to do Cliff Kingsbury. It seems like the Cardinals, man, you're right. You were so right about the Cardinals. You know them better than anybody else. Dude, they had that fluky start last season, and everybody coming into the season was like, oh, they got DeAndre Hopkins back, but then he got suspended. I also threw them off and derailed them, and then Kyler Murray, even though he was healthy for most of the season, they didn't do nothing. They got a fluke start to last season, and then towards the end of the season, what happens when Kyler Murray starts running around? A lot of these mobile quarterbacks, they look fun and all exciting until week 11, 12, maybe even 13. That's when they start going down because of leg pains or whatever. They just put too much wear and tear on the quarterbacks, mobile quarterbacks, and we're seeing it with running backs. That's why nobody wants to sign running backs to long-term deals. It's going to start happening to these mobile quarterbacks. Everybody's going to be like, dude, these guys don't last that long. It's because the team overuses them, or the players start using their God-gifted skills on every single play, not when they need to, on every single play, I don't know. I don't get it. I wouldn't draft a mobile quarterback. Now, looking at how everybody, all these mobile quarterbacks are getting hurt. But yeah, the game, it was close, man. I want to say that I was like, oh, man, the Cardinals look like they got a chance at winning this game. And they took the lead. They were going back and forth for about a half quarter. And then after that, it was all 49ers from that point on. I was like, wow. I was like, it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the Cardinals, they have not done good the last few years as far as drafting a line. When the Cardinals were making the postseason and being very dangerous with Carson Palmer, it's because they drafted a good offensive line. They had a good defensive line, always had a good pass rush. They had decent corners. The offense was always set, but they've relied too much on over-the-hill running backs like James Conner and other guys. They went out and got older guys like Zach Ertz, who was, yes, he's still productive, but you need youth right there, and you're paying a veteran. You're paying a veteran in Hopkins. You got rid of a lot of good defensive players. They had holes up and down this roster, and I'm surprised they won 4 games. I never believed in Murray. Remember the game that they won against Oakland or Vegas? They shouldn't have won that one either. So when they were supposedly fully strength this year, they won 2 or 3 games that they shouldn't have won. So the writing was on the wall since the beginning of the season, so it just took longer for them to make the fire for whatever reason. I would have fired Kingsbury 5 weeks ago.
Hey, I got a question for you. Do you got a timer in front of you of how long we've been going for? With the seconds and all that, minutes, an hour and all that?
Yeah, 49 minutes so far.
All right. I need you to do me a really big solid favor, and I need you to do this while you're looking at the camera. I need a full 60 seconds of you going on a J.J. Watt rant.
Okay. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. I have ever seen.